Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via Livestream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Good evening. Welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05 Talking Small Business. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and excited to be here with you once again this evening. Every week I'm excited because we have tremendous guests who take time out of their busy schedule to share their expertise and help you become a better leader. So thanks for tuning in. I know it's the evening, but definitely we keep it valuable and want to make sure that you get the most out of participating in each of the shows. And by participating, we invite your active participation. So feel free to type in the chat, any comments, any questions. If you like it, feel free to do that. And I don't know if you're on my YouTube, but on my YouTube channel, you may want to subscribe because we have past episodes as well. So thanks again for joining. Tonight, very excited. We have Hunter Hastings, who's here with us to really talk about creating more value for your business. He has a unique or a different perspective than many people in the U.S. So we're going to learn a little bit about Austrian economics and kind of how that focuses on, value creation more so than sometimes in the U.S. It's more just primarily focused on profits and short-term profits. So definitely excited to have him. Hunter and I connected a little while back. He's working on, a project that Dr. Dale Caldwell, has really shared his expertise about e-zones. And I think we had talked about that on previous episodes, but, definitely, Hunter's doing some great stuff. He's out in California, so it's a little warmer than it is here in Jersey, but hey, Hunter, welcome. Glad you could join us this evening.
Thank you, Andrew. It's a real pleasure and an honor to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Okay, great. Yeah, so definitely look forward to kind of getting into it, kind of learning your perspectives on, how to lead businesses in a way that creates maximum value, because at the end of the day, that's why people buy from you, is because you're providing value for them. And at the end of the day, your business is customer driven. So we've connected, but the audience doesn't really know you. So if you could take a few minutes to kind of just introduce yourself, talk a little bit about where you came from, how you got to where you are, and then we'll jump into some Q&A and kind of talk a little bit about the topic for tonight.
Good. Well, thank you. I'm a proud American. I was born in England, and I studied economics in England, largely because there weren't any business schools back then in England when I was growing up. I think there are some now, but it was Americans who invented business school, and we didn't have any, so I thought the best approach was to study economics, which I really enjoyed. I left university and started to work for an American company called Procter & Gamble, which some people may have heard of. They make soaps and detergents like Tide, and now a million other things. They own Gillette and a whole bunch of household products and personal products. So, I quickly learned that economics was no use in business, at least the economics I'd been taught. What I really learned about was what you alluded to, Andrew, which was the customer being the driver of business. At Procter & Gamble, we said, the customer is my boss. And that's the way we ran the business. My boss was Mom. And my job was to understand Mom and how she ran her household and how she took care of her kids and the feelings that she had about that. So I really got a good understanding of marketing. That eventually brought me to the US. And one of the things I found out was that marketing expertise that Procter & Gamble taught me was resaleable. You could sell it as consulting. So I got hired by a consulting company and enjoyed seeing a lot of different businesses and applying marketing principles, customer-led marketing principles. I eventually figured out that I didn't need to be part of a big consulting company. I could start my own, become an entrepreneur. I actually co-founded a consulting company, and then that was on the East Coast. I moved to the West Coast and founded one out here. And I spent a brief time in Silicon Valley, Andrew, with running a software company back then in 1999 and 2000. But then at the crash, I decided to go back in consulting. So I took that consulting expertise and specifically around brands, and we built a company that served customers in global branding. How do you take a US-based brand and make it relevant to people all over the world? And we developed some principles. We called it fixed and flexible. There's some things about a brand that never change, and there's some things that are flexible. You've got to adjust to the local culture. For example, you'd serve croissants in McDonald's in Paris. Otherwise, you couldn't run a restaurant in Paris. So you learn things like that. And then when I retired from consulting, I became the general manager of a small seed stage venture capital fund. Seed stage means right at the very beginning, before there's revenue sometimes, certainly before there's a well-established business model. So that's been an interesting ride. I've seen 30 or 40 companies through that process. Some of them fail, some of them succeed. So there's a ton of learning in that. And now I'm running a project at Mises Institute, which we might talk about, called Economics for Business. So trying to pull this all together and apply something you mentioned, Austrian Economics, as a principle for running a business, especially an entrepreneurial business, and especially a small business, although I hate that term small business. I think that's a government term. If you look at the number of businesses in the US, roughly 6 million businesses, 99.9% of them are not in the Fortune 500 or not in the S&P 500. And that's what I call the middle class of business. And so I think everybody should be part of that middle class of business as a founder or as a co-entrepreneurial employee. I'm a big believer in entrepreneurship.
Excellent, excellent. So no, I mean, everybody has a different journey, but we have some similarities in our journey. Definitely have experience working in larger organizations before. Well, actually, I started out as an entrepreneur before college and in college, and then worked for larger organizations, and then learned some great stuff on their dime and made some money so I could invest it in my own business.
Right.
So definitely you learn a lot, and especially doing consulting, you work with so many businesses that you see different things that can be applicable other places. For those of you who don't know Procter & Gamble, they're the premier company for branding and marketing. So you got a good education there. And, what I always say is your most important job as a business owner is marketing and selling. So And marketing is the most important because, if you market well, you don't have to sell that. It's easier to sell. And if you market really well, you don't even have to sell. So that's really the ultimate situation as an entrepreneur and business owner. So
Right.
what we're going to be talking about is very valuable. So really look forward to getting into it with you. But we're going to take a quick break. We're here. The show is produced through Small Business Pro University. So it'd be good for people to know what Small Business Pro University is in case you don't know. So I've got like a 1-minute video, and then Hunter and I are going to jump back on and really get into talking about building value through your business. Do you own your business, or does it own you? Is your business growing, and are you making enough money? As a business owner, there are so many things you need to know to become more successful. Hello, my name is Andrew Frazier, the Business Growth Pro and CFO. I created the Small Business Pro University for you. Small Business Pro University has self-paced, dynamic, multimedia learning experiences created by more than 20 instructors who are business owners just like you. Small Business Pro University will empower you to become a masterpreneur by learning the secrets to creating a successful enterprise, to go from working in your business to working on your business. Take advantage of our strategic coaching program, or just simply choose the courses that you need. At www.sbprou.com, we will empower you to thrive and not just survive, and make more money in any business environment. Okay. Welcome back to Leadership Live at 805 Talking Small Business. If you want to check out the Small Business Pro University, that's the website. And Hunter, we're here talking a little bit about value creation. One of the things that you focus is on, really using Austrian Economics. What is that, and how does it work?
Well, it's a bad brand name is what it is, Andrew. If you were going to brand your version of economics, you wouldn't call it Austrian in the 21st century. It's really entrepreneurial economics. And I say that because traditional economics, mainstream economics, what I learned at university, is top-down economics. It's about big numbers like GDP and the money supply. And it's about government policy. What should government do in the economy? And our brand of economics, Austrian economics, turns that upside down. It's about people. It's about individuals, and then how they collaborate together and interact. And the most important function in the economy is entrepreneurship. It's the creation of value. And we'll talk about what value is. The entrepreneurs understand what people want. That's their job, to find out what is wanted, what there is in demand, and then create new products and new services to meet that demand. So entrepreneurship is economic growth, it's innovation, it's the drive forwards towards betterment. It's available for everybody. It's ethical because what you're trying to do is serve other people. It's collaborative, and it's the real energy in the economy. So Austrian economics is entrepreneurial economics.
Okay, great. Well, some of the greatest things you find are like hidden. So, this is kind of a gem that's hidden underneath the name that people wouldn't suspect it being a gem. So that's why I'm so glad we were able to connect and share this with other business owners. So, you hit on a key thing in that, small business, there's a few things that allow you, advantages you have as a small business. You can be more creative, you can be more flexible, and a big piece of that is that allows you to move faster and see trends faster and try things faster. And if you don't take advantage of that as a small business owner, then you're not going to be nearly as competitive. So in this environment, everything is moving towards being cheaper, faster, and better. And where do you see that going for small businesses? And I guess there has to be a limit to it as well, or everything will be free and really good. So, what is your perspective on that? And, as a small business owner, how should we approach our business based on that?
Yeah, you hit on a number of important things there, Andrew. And the entrepreneurial mindset is that everything is changing at speed. So you've got to get your head into this idea of the flow. We call it the flow. Everything is moving really, really fast. That's the norm. There's an expression for that called VUCA, VUCA. The world is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And you've got to learn to live with that. It's changing every day. And so, as you said, small business, entrepreneurial business, has a real advantage in being able to be agile, to change fast. In science, they call it feedback loops. You try something, you get a feedback from the marketplace, you respond to that, and you change. So that's a real advantage for small businesses. And that's never going to change. You say, where is it going? It's just continuing. There's an old Chinese proverb that says you don't step in the same river twice, because it's flowing by you at a rate, and it's always going to keep flowing, and you've just got to step into it at various times and do your business in the river as it moves on. So think of constant change. You mentioned technology. That's one of the rivers of constant change. Technology is evolving. It's not that we're inventing new ways to use it, it's that technology itself is changing. And so we've got to jump on at the right time and use technology in the best way. So always be using technology, always be using new technology. Discard what you've got and use something new. And now that it's all software and downloadable from the web, then you can do that. Capital is a flow. So think of capital not as having to buy a storefront or to buy machinery and those kinds of things. Think of it as a flow that you can dip into. So a great example of that is Amazon Web Services, where Amazon has invested all the money in servers and connections, and you can buy it by the minute. You can buy the most powerful computing power on the planet by the minute for a few pennies. Amazon really has created that infrastructure. They have a wonderful service. If anyone listening would be interested in it, it's called Amazon Ground Station, where you could rent satellite time. So the most up-to-date space-age technology in the world is available to you. And as you said, it's getting cheaper and cheaper. So we talk about inflation, Andrew, in old-fashioned businesses like grocery stores and gasoline. But in technology, there's deflation. And in fact, the deflation is going to outpace the inflation in traditional goods. So everything is constantly getting cheaper. Consumers and customers are learning what to want. They can't keep up any more than the entrepreneurs can with this change and this flow. So they're learning what to want. We call it the value learning process. They're learning what they value. And that's going to change all the time with technology and what other people do. So we've got to help them to learn. So we put new ideas in front of them, new concepts, new business offerings, and we need the feedback to say, will they learn to want this? Or if they don't, can I change it in some way so that they will learn to want it? It's a learning process where the customer's in charge and we're trying to keep up with them. But if we do it at speed, you certainly can.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like you said, technology's continually advancing, and that's an amazing thing for small businesses, because I can do so many things as a small business that never, ever could have been done 20 years ago. And you can compete with large businesses effectively because of that. So, definitely utilizing technology and, many other things are key.
You can compete with large businesses, but sometimes even better, Andrew, you can sell to them. You can find out what they need. And 70% of what small business does is sell to big businesses. And so with the network connections now, with the flexibility that you have, they can be your best customers.
Yeah. Yeah. So, whenever there's challenges like with COVID and so many things going on, there's always opportunities. And, small businesses have the opportunity to, many opportunities now. Many small businesses are doing great. Many are having challenges, but there's always an opportunity to really be proactive, be creative, and be flexible. But you got to focus on how to create value and where to create value. So, one thing I always find when I talk to business owners is, I ask them what their target market is, and most of them don't really even know what a target market is. So they probably also don't know what value really is. So can you really just lay out, what, as a business owner, what does value really mean, and how should I be looking at it?
Yeah, this is really challenging and interesting subject, Andrew, and it's the kind of place where the business schools get it wrong and the newspapers get it wrong, and most of the mainstream gets it wrong. They talk about shareholder value and they talk about business creating value. And in my view, that's not the way to look at it. Customers create value, and customers create value as a feeling. It's an experience. Did I value, or will I value in the future, what that business is offering to me? They evaluate that. They go through a value learning process, which is initially, does it sound like it's going to be valuable to me? That's a yes, no kind of a question. Then how do I compare it with alternatives? So there's always alternatives. One of the alternatives is doing nothing, right? Not buying what is offered. Then they decide whether it has the exchange value. Is it worth the money that I have to part with to buy this service? Then they use it, so they have value and experience is what we call it. And then they sit back and they evaluate it again, say, did it meet my experience? So the value is created by the customer. What the business has to do is think of the customer's well-being. That's the value. Are they going to be happier? As you said, are they going to find things more convenient? Is it going to be easier? One of the things that we focus on, which is a big opportunity for all businesses, Andrew, is reducing the amount of work that the customer has to do to enjoy your product. So if you think of, the old example of the change from Blockbuster to Netflix, you had to do a lot of work to rent a video from Blockbuster. You had to go to the store, you had to take it home, you had to take it back before the late fees hit. All of a sudden, you can stream your video from Netflix. You have to pay a lot more money for it. You have to pay a subscription, but you've lowered the amount of work that the customer has to do. So value in the customer's mind is all of the benefits that I get, all of the good feelings that I get, minus the work that I have to do to get that. So you can increase the benefits, increase the top half of the value equation, or you can take away from the bottom half of the equation, the amount of work. And work can include time and effort and difficulty and the learning curve that they've got to go through and so on. So think of both sides of that. Think of the benefits you can provide and think about how you can take away the work, the cost of work and effort that the customer has to put into it. Make it as easy as possible for them.
So really, it's about figuring out the best solution for the customer, delivering best on their needs, wants, and desires. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it is, except that they don't always know what those needs, wants, and desires are. So you gotta help them. There's a famous old expression by Henry Ford, and he said, if I'd asked my customers what they want, they told me faster horses. And instead, he brought them the automobile. And his point was, he knew they were unhappy about something. They didn't like the slowness of pulling carts, and they probably didn't like all of the mess and bother of taking care of horses and all of those kinds of things. But they couldn't say that. They couldn't articulate that. But they could tell Henry Ford what they were unhappy about. And then Henry Ford could could figure out the automobile and how it fit into their life. Steve Jobs used to say the same thing about Apple. You can't ask the customer to invent the solution, because they can't imagine that. You can, and you've got to fit that in with their desire. We call it dissatisfaction or unease. They can't tell you what they want, but they can tell you what's wrong with the current situation. And if you can go back to them and say, well, I can improve your situation, you have to try something new, and then they'll go through that learning curve that I just talked about, the learning cycle. So it's the number one skill of the entrepreneur, we call it empathy. Getting inside the customer's head and understanding what it is that they're dissatisfied with, so that from that I can try and figure out what it is that they want. They don't know what they want, and I haven't invented it yet. So that's the dance that you've got to go through. So empathy gets you there.
Right. And it's kind of funny. My wife and I were talking about it, and like a comedian, it's like once you get a certain age, you just end up watching Law and Order all the time. So it's like, we don't know what we want. We surf around. You're like, then we go back to Law and Order. But,
We're
but
on that with Yellowstone right now.
Yeah. But there's a lot of new content coming out that's really good. But, I don't know what I want, but I know I want something better than what I got.
Exactly.
So if you, like you said, if you find somewhere where there's dissatisfaction or not, there's ability to have greater satisfaction or greater solution, that's really the sweet spot.
And I'd like to go back to your point about the target audience, Andrew, because you're absolutely right. That's 100% the starting point. So business doesn't start with an idea. That's a wrong way to look at things. It starts with customers. It starts with what we call choosing customers. And usually they're depicted as choosing you, but as a business, you should choose them. Who are the people you want to serve? Who are the people that you want to focus on? You called it a target audience, which is exactly right. Then you get to know them. Well, who are these people? What are their lives like? What's driving them crazy? What are their aspirations? What are their hopes? What are their dreams? And really, really get to know them. If you know your customers better than anybody else does, then you can develop the products and services that they'll want. And that's one of the things about artificial intelligence today. It's one of the claims for it is it will know you better than you know yourself, because it's collecting all of this data about you, what you click on and what you watch and what you buy and so on. And there's some truth to that. But as entrepreneurs, as business people, we've got to do that. We've got to know our customers as well as we possibly can. And we can use AI and big data and all that stuff to learn, but they're still people. And the machine can't do the people, the empathy, the emotion of a connection between a business and its customer.
Okay. Yeah. And, one thing, when people are buying, many times it's described as people buy from you because they know you, like you, and trust you. And as a small business owner, you can be knowable, likable, and trustable. As a company, that's a harder proposition. That's why companies need to spend millions and millions on advertising to try and develop that. So, the relationship is key, especially as a small business owner, because that's how you can know what they need. And if becoming building relationships and becoming better and better at doing that will make you a better, more successful business owner. So can you talk a little bit about, we're really talking about market research now and analysis.
So, well, let me comment on what you said about trust, because you're 100% right. When I was in the branding business, you were talking about big brands like Tide and Ford and so on. That's a trust mechanism. If I make a promise to you as a brand, as Tide, so I used to make the promise about it'll get your clothes whiter than anything else would. That was important back when I was working at Procter & Gamble. White shirts with a big thing. But I made a promise. And then if you keep it every time, that's the essence of branding. So I can trust this brand that it's going to keep its promise. So a brand is a trust mechanism, and you get a higher price for that. The customer would rather buy your product at a higher price again and again and again, because they don't have to go searching for something else to trust. And trust can be fragile. So if you find trust, customers love it. So yeah, today we talk about that as customer relationship management, CRM when machines do it, and customer relations when people do it. But that's exactly right. That trust that you will keep your promise, that you are trustworthy, it's the essence of business. It's the essence of repeat business. It's the essence of subscription businesses. So to get to your question about market research, I'm not a big believer in surveys and numbers, because mathematically you're producing averages and you're producing statistical correlations. It might be useful, but I believe much more in what the researchers call qualitative data, i.e. talking to people. One conversation with one customer that gets deeply and richly into what they're thinking and what they're feeling, what their hopes are and what their apprehensions are, is worth far more than a lot of surveys and a ton of data. Get to know your customers by talking to them. And when I did research for big businesses in B2B, selling them computer systems and software systems, it's still people. And people have emotional relationships with what they're buying, and then what the job of it is internally. You remember the old story about you can't get fired for buying IBM. Well, that's a trust story, that IBM's the best, and even if I pay a little bit more for it, no one's going to criticize me for buying IBM. So research is about people, and you should always be looking for those emotions and those feelings and that nervousness and that hope. And you can't get that in the numbers. The numbers won't speak to you. It's people who speak to you.
Okay. No, that's a great point. One thing I like to do is, the other thing is sometimes you assume you know what people think, but it's important to ask them because you'd be surprised. And one exercise I have people do is ask each of their customers why they hired you. Because many times it's a different reason than why you thought or what you thought you were offering to them. But that's something that really works. So once you know that can help you market what you do and communicate what you do more effectively.
Yeah, that's such a good point, Andrew. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is check your assumptions. And sometimes you don't know what assumptions you're making, and it's important to check them. So in the world of economic models, they predict things with economic models. They're always wrong. And one of the reasons they're always wrong is they're full of assumptions. You can't build a model without assumptions. It's the same with climate change models. There's so many assumptions in them, you can't possibly predict anything. And people are like that too. You might expect tomorrow to be like today. That's an assumption. So check your assumptions at every point. And it's a good actual exercise to do. Sit down and say, what assumptions do I have built into my business? And you'll be surprised at some of the assumptions you make that don't turn out to be true.
Yep. No, definitely. So this is great. I think we're hitting on a lot of good stuff. We're going to continue to do that. One thing I want to delve into is, I find that most business owners didn't go into business to market and sell, but that's their most important job. And usually they don't prepare for it. So they're just out there winging it. And, think about how much better your business will be if you actually know what you're doing. So let's talk about kind of how people can know better and be able to be more effective. But let's take a second. I just want to Many of you know, my newest book is called The Masterpreneur Playbook. It helps you understand how to go from startup to scaling. And actually, just today, it's available for the first day. It's available on Amazon, so you may want to check it out. And I'll just play a quick video to let you know a little bit more about it. This is my most recent. It's not even available yet.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
The Masterpreneur Playbook.
Okay.
And really, we talked about is there's 5 steps to growing your business.
Yeah.
And, really laying out what those steps are, but not only what the steps are, how do you transition through them? And, each stage, you have certain things, there's a certain challenge that you have to overcome.
Right.
There's a certain goal you have to achieve.
Right.
There's a certain role you have as a business owner.
Right.
There's a certain structure that you need to have within your business to support that role and move into the next role. So each step, I lay out what those things are.
Wonderful.
Because each one of those has a key skill that you have to have as the business owner. You have to evolve and continually learn, or you're going to get stuck. You can only go as far as you're prepared to take. Okay, welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and I'm here with Hunter Hastings, and we're talking about adding value and creating more value for your customers. And, one of the key things to be able to do that and to be able to grow your business is to be able to market effectively. Hunter worked with Procter & Gamble. He's worked with a lot of different companies and has a great understanding of it, and many business owners don't. And even though you can't market the same way as a small business as a large business, there's certain key things that are critical in terms of what how you market. So what are some of the marketing 101s that business owners should absolutely know and learn as much as possible about?
Well, Peter Drucker, the famous business writer, said that there are only 2 things that a business should be doing. That's marketing and innovation. Everything else is just a cost. And marketing is aligning yourself perfectly with the customer. So it's a very humble kind of activity. It's fitting in with the customer's life. So when I was back in the detergent business, I thought of mom as a system, as a household. How do I fit into her system? And there's the product. She's going to use it because she's going to wash clothes. How can I convince her to pay a little bit more for mine versus some other? How do I understand how she feels when her kids go to school with her well-washed and ironed clothes? How does she feel when her husband goes into the business meeting with his white shirt? And just understanding the customer, aligning with the customer as perfectly as you can, meeting their system, fitting into their system. So we tend to think of marketing as communications often, and that's fine. They can't understand what value that you're going to help them create without knowing that your offering is available. Then you've got to help them with that second part, which is the comparison versus alternatives. So we talk about uniqueness. You want to be uniquely different and better. And you've got to find which customers and which situations and which contexts you can be different and better. Then there's the pricing part. So you've got to convince her of that. And sometimes you may do a promotion or a coupon or something that helps her over the price point or helps him over the price point to get to that experience. Then you've got to monitor that experience. So this is the part of marketing that we sometimes don't think about because we think about it as outbound, but it's also inbound. It's monitoring the experience to see if the customer loved it, and if they didn't, what could be improved about it, and then feeding that back into the loop. So again, marketing is a process. You've got to make people aware of what you've got, the right people. You've got to help them through that comparison stage. Why should I buy this as opposed to anything else? You got to help them through the pricing stage, and then you've got to monitor the experience stage. So think of it as a loop. And if you get that loop right, then it becomes a repeatable loop, a subscription loop, a loyal customer. And loyal customer is more valuable than any other. And so marketing is going to help you get those loyal customers. Those are the ones to focus on.
Okay. No, that's great. I mean, definitely it's much cheaper to sell something else to someone who's already your customer than try to sell something to a new customer. So building that relationship is key and maintaining.
And, when we look at our digital businesses, Andrew, you look at, they call it the CAC, the customer acquisition cost. And if you don't have loyal customers, then you find that your cost of customer acquisition goes up and up and up, and your efficiency goes down and down and down, because you're always searching for new customers instead of continuing to serve the ones that you've served in the past. So that's a fatal loop. If you don't get loyal customers, then your customer acquisition cost is going to go up, and your efficiency and profits are going to go down. So it's super important. It's survival to have loyal customers.
Okay, great. And you mentioned that marketing is really a process. It's not individual activities. Like some people may think, commercial is marketing. But the marketing is really the system or process or strategy that you're using to build that relationship with customers, not the individual tools. And you talk about how these things have to fit together. So you can't just willy-nilly pick tools and do them. You really have to have everything that you're doing aligned, because everything that you're doing impacts the other things that you're doing. So,
right. We depict what I just described as a loop, and it's an infinite loop. It never stops. So it depends where you start, but let's start at communication. I'm telling the customers I have chosen that I've got an offering for them. I've got something that I hope they'll want. So that's a communication tool. Then I've got to help them with the comparison part. So you need some kind of a understanding of what they're comparing you with, and you've got to establish that uniqueness. Then you've got the pricing tools and promotion tools. Then you got the monitoring tools. So that's where your research and your digital data, if you're a digital business, or your checkout data and so on. But monitoring the experience, that's a really hard part, getting to be with them while they're actually experiencing your product or service. But you can do that. Go visit the customer for a day. And then the feedback loop. So you need to make sure that feedback's coming in, and got to make sure that your company can process that feedback, that can react to it. So yeah, it's an infinite loop. It never stops, and that's the way to think about it. Not have the right tools at the right point on the loop, but it's a process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I mean, definitely being able to do that effectively and think about it in that way is key. One thing that I found is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the OnePage marketing plan by Alan Dibb, but I find, for a small business owner, that's a great way to really quickly and easily think about your market plan in an aligned way from end to end. Because many times as a small business owner, you're only doing a piece of what you should be doing. And that's why you may not be getting the results that you really could be achieving.
Right. And, one of the things, Andrew, that's such a challenge, especially for smaller businesses, is that we depict that loop, or we depict that one-page marketing plan, and, we talk about it in a rational fashion, but you're actually doing everything at the same time, all the time. And that's real life. You've got to be doing that. And so you've got to be ambidextrous. You've got to be running around the process, continuing the process, figuring out where you are in the process, while at the same time doing everything at once. And that's the skill of small business.
Yep. And the other thing you're talking about is most of it's preparation. It seems like I find that marketing is 80-90% preparation as opposed to doing, so that when you do, it's effective. And I want to get your feel for that, but even before you do your one-page marketing plan, you got to do your marketing research and analysis.
Yeah,
and that's about getting the customer, because how can you set up a plan if you don't know what the plan's supposed to do and who it's supposed to reach? So how does the research affect the plan, and what should you be focusing more on and more energy and effort on?
Yeah, so we think of that in this way. We think of a business's orientation, if you like. It's vision and its mission. Vision is something you see in the future. Mission is what you do every day to get there. So you establish that. You've got to build the capacity to be able to do that, to do your mission, and therefore reach your vision. So you put all of those things together, and maybe that's a baseline. But then the next step is learning. And so you've done all this preparation. Now you're getting all of this market data. You're getting your sales results. You're getting your complaints. You're getting competitors coming in. You're getting COVID happen to you. You've got to be able to change really fast. So everything that you did, establishing your vision and mission and capacity, your orientation to your business, if you like, you've got to be able to change that at speed, maybe small changes, maybe big changes. And the way you do that is by always running experiments, always trying something new in response to the changes that are happening. And you can be ambidextrous. What I mean by that is there are some things that are going to continue on. You've established a good base business based on all of that research and that effort and that preparation, building the capacity. So keep doing that, but then always be running new experiments and trying new things so that you can respond to changes in the marketplace. So yeah, absolutely preparation, tons of preparation, but then adaptation. You've got to be able to make those changes, keep up with the changes in the outside world, so that your orientation sometimes has to change. Always, you put your plans together, but planning's a good thing, but plans change. So being ambidextrous, being able to do both, that's the key.
Okay. So it's really about being proactive, being creative, and being flexible, and being able to deal with ambiguity, as things are changing. And a lot of people have difficulty with that because, sometimes if you don't know what's going to happen, you can just get stuck and not do anything, which is the worst thing that you can do.
Right.
I don't know if you're a fan of the Karate Kid, but Miyagi said, you can be on the right side of the road or you can be on the left side of the road, but you can't be in the middle because you get squished. So decide and try it. And, if not, you don't get squished. So you can come back and choose a different side if you chose the wrong side in most cases.
Yeah, it's the old Joe Louis expression. Everyone's got a fight plan until you get punched in the face.
Right. So, yeah. And then
but to that point, though, Andrew, the mentality that we encourage businesses to develop is VUCA is normal. The rate of change, the uncertainty, the complexity, the ambiguity, as you called it, it's normal. And you got to get your head around that. It's normal. And so keep on doing what's working, throw away what isn't working, and try something new. But the world's going to remain VUCA, and you've got to deal with it. Yeah,
and you got to embrace it.
Love it.
It's if you can't beat them, join them. And definitely as a small business owner, you have advantages because of that. So
you got to, one of my friends call it loving reality. You got to love reality, and that's the real world. And feedback's a great example of that. If you made a mistake, you made a delivery error, you got a bad batch of product, you got to love the fact that you get feedback, that people say that was awful. Well, that's tremendously valuable, because I'm not going to make that mistake again, right? I'm going to put in some new processes or controls that stop it from happening. So thank God I got the feedback. And so you've got to love that. You got to love that reality. You use the word embrace it, and that's a hard thing to do. But if you're good at business, that's what you're going to do.
Right, and but not just in marketing, in all areas of your business, you need to seek feedback. Even though I'm a financial guy, I deal with marketing, but even on the finance side, developing key performance indicators. That's all about getting feedback on how your business is performing and using that to make adjustments so that it can perform better. And it's amazing what you can do within an organization just by having key performance indicators and using that as a way to help people to self-manage. I've worked with one organization. They doubled their profitability on the same sales just because they, focused on optimizing what they were doing. And everybody became more efficient, made better decisions, took action faster and with more purpose. So,
those kind of metrics we love. The ones that, as you say, they're about performance, and they give you feedback, and you can always improve them. I heard a great expression the other day, which is cockroach metrics. So if you see a cockroach in your house, Andrew, how many do you assume are there?
100?
Yeah, or 1 billion, or whatever it is. And that's a cockroach metric. If you see one data point that looks like it's out of whack, then assume there's an infestation and go dig at it. Don't wait until you've got 1,000 data points. Look for the cockroach metrics and stomp on them as soon as you find them. So I found that a useful mental model.
Yeah, no, definitely looking at things as, often as possible, and addressing things, makes a huge difference. So.
Right, not ignoring them, not sweeping them under the rug, but loving reality. Love the cockroach.
Yeah. So definitely. So, the hour always goes like super fast because we're nearing that time frame. But this week we could probably talk about this for hours and hours, but I know people can't hang on like that, especially in the evening after a long day. But we appreciate everybody tuning in and being involved. I'm going to ask Hunter to really give us 3 key things to take away from our conversation that you can implement immediately within your business. But before we do that, I'm just going to take a sec. As you may or may not know, I do power breakfast events, and it's been for like 10 years for entrepreneurs and business owners. And we have our next one coming up on March 24th in New Jersey, northern New Jersey. So if you're in the area, but we're also planning to live stream this one for the first time. So even if you're not here, you can participate. Looking forward to that. If you don't know what a power breakfast is, let me just show you real quick, and we'll be back and get ready to close out with those 3 key things you should take with you. So here we go. If you are looking to increase revenues, improve profitability, and or obtain financing for your business, you need to check out the Power Breakfast and Small Business Pro conferences. My name is Andrew Frazier. One of the things we're here to do is supercharge your day.
Today's Power Breakfast has really been a phenomenal experience. I think it's exactly what business owners need. some true guidance of people who are genuine and really are leading them in the true direction of business growth and expansion.
The Power Breakfast is so important for the entrepreneurial community because it gives the various business people who come together an opportunity to interact and also do some business.
These events, hosted by Andrew Frazier, President and COO of Small Business Like a Pro, will supercharge your day.
Welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05 Talking Small Business. I'm here hanging out with Hunter Hastings, talking about how you can understand how to create more value for your customers and potential customers through looking at your business using Austrian economic principles.
Yep.
So they got to work on the name, but it's a gem underneath it. So thank you for taking the time to share. So what should we do tomorrow or even tonight? We've heard a lot of great things. We want to do them. Where should we start?
Well, my three things are: practice empathy, do it. So every time you encounter a customer or a partner in your supply chain or anybody in business, practice empathy. And what that means is get inside their head. What is their mental model? What are their assumptions? How are they thinking? As I said, what's driving them crazy? Or what are they aspiring to? And how could you devise something that helps them, makes them feel good because you understand their thinking and you're aligning with it and you're making their world better? So practice empathy. Every time, every chance you have, put yourself in the other person's shoes and see if you can't come to some new insights that way. And if you practice it, you do it again and again, you'll get really good at it, and it's a skill. So that would be the first one. My second one would be run experiments. So don't wait until the time comes along that you've got to change. Run some experiments now. And some of them they don't have to be expensive. They can be really inexpensive. In the digital world, it's like running what they call A/B tests. You send one message to one set of customers and another message to another, and you see which one performs better. Or maybe you put one new item in your inventory, or maybe you change one price or run one coupon offer or give a new delivery reassurance. Just run experiments. And so make a list of 10 experiments that you can run that are really cheap, and make sure that you're running 10 experiments all the time and learn from them. So that would be my second one. And the third one is the one you said, Andrew. Check your assumptions. I mean, actually sit down and in any business situation, write down, these are the assumptions that I'm working on. Maybe I didn't realize it, so I had to think about it a little bit, and let me check them. Let me make sure that's right. I think my customer needs X, but it may turn out they need Y. Or I think they're happy with this situation and maybe they're not. But just what are your assumptions, and check them all the time, because bad assumptions lead to bad business. So anything you can do to improve them. And you can do all those three things right now, I think, Andrew.
Okay. No, those are great points. And each of those speaks to the dynamic nature of business and how you have to be continually proactive about your business, about your market, so that you can make sure you stay relevant and are ahead of the curve. So, this has been great. We'll definitely have to have you on again. And thank you so much for being a guest and taking time out of your busy schedule to join in.
Well, thank you for everything you do, Andrew, to support business. You're a great champion and a great leader. Let me just, if I may, mention our website. It's Econ for Business, ECON, the number 4 business.com. We've got a whole bunch of content and tools there that you can browse around. It's free, and everybody's welcome. We'd love you to come and browse and leave some comments about what's useful and what's not, because we're always trying to improve it. So come and get some free Austrian stuff at econforbusiness.com.
Okay, no, that's perfect. So I'll also put that in the message in the chats for everything. And
Please.
in the chats you already have Hunter's LinkedIn profile. So if you want to connect with him, that's a great way to do it and learn a little bit more about him and what he does and what he's doing. So thanks again, Hunter. Hang on for a minute. I'm just going to close things out and then we can chat a minute afterwards. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew.
Great. So once again, we had a great episode of Leadership Live at 8:05. Hope you learned some valuable things. I learned something every episode as well. So thank you for joining us and being here. And, definitely looking forward to continuing to have great guests and great messages. Hey, Anita, how you doing? Thanks for joining in. Glad you found it valuable. And, definitely looking forward to moving forward. So appreciate everybody's feedback. Let me just give you a preview of what we can expect coming up, because we always have some exciting things. So next week, we're going to be talking about how to successfully navigate the procurement process with Raul Mercado. He runs the PTAC in New Jersey, and they help entrepreneurs and business owners get certified, get access to different contracts on the federal level as well as other levels. So, if you're not certified and you want to grow, and having, a good contract definitely helps you grow faster and better. So next week, that's what we're going to be talking about. Please feel free to tune in. I'm sure that will be valuable and it can save you some time, energy, and, potentially open up your market to new opportunities. So, excited about having him here next week. And then the week after, our guest is Melinda Emerson, the small biz lady. And she's going to be talking about how now is a great time to become your own boss. So, definitely, she's, nationally known as the small business lady, does some great stuff, and looking forward to chatting with her as well about small business. So we're going to continue each week. It's been over 100 straight weeks with Leadership Live. So appreciate everybody, tuning in and being involved, and, looking forward to continuing. So, one thing that is key, and, every business owner should keep in mind is, at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster your business will grow. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.